Welcome to Brunch with REC, another edition.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning and welcome.
Nice to start a Saturday morning with you guys.
Look at the screen. Look at the screen.
He's saying who's the best looking panel on Zoom right now. And it's this one right here.
So yeah, this is a cool setup.
We appreciate that. And Simos's headset's matching his shirt today. So we wanted to make sure we brought the goods because we have you joining us. And we are very excited to have you on Brunch with REC. You joined us now. It was probably a couple of years back, like 2019.
It was 2019.
You were in the studio
Just before the pandemic.
Yeah, you were in the. Well, I was going to say a couple of things have happened ever since you came into the studio. How have you been, Mr. Tim Hudak?
I've been fine, but holy smokes, you're right. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, right? But yeah, because we were live. We were in your studio there at RLP. Holy smokes, that was. Good, thank you. Good. Girls are happy back in school. Wife Debbie's doing well with her consulting business and doing a lot of radio, and things are going well at OREA, through this craziness. It gave us a good chance, I think, to prove ourselves that we give good guidance and good advocacy during the craziness of the last 2 years. Yeah, you bet. Simeon, Jas, thanks for me back. The 10-second version, you never give a former politician a microphone because 10 seconds. Got to be careful. Yeah, I'm born and raised in the Niagara Peninsula. I'm home in West Lincoln. Two lovely daughters, Miller and Maitland, who are almost 14 and 7. Wife Debbie, who I got to know in politics. I spent 21 years in the business as a representative for the Niagara region in provincial parliament, then leader of the Ontario PC party. I've told Simeon before, I got released after 21 years for good behavior from that sentence and got back into the real world. And I'm hitting now 5 years of the Ontario Real Estate Association this December as the CEO. I'm proud to be for the advocate for the folks watching here when it comes to homeownership and good real estate practices, and proud to help lead an organization supporting Ontario's over 80,000 now Ontario realtors.
Can you just talk a little bit about the importance of the Ontario real estate?
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Jas, for the question. So, basically we are the association for the profession. Our main goal is to make sure that we continue to raise the bar when it comes to professional standards. We want to make sure that your clients, the women and men that you work hard for and families every day, know that the realtor at their side is the most trusted professional in North America that knows their stuff. They will make sure when they're making their decisions on their most expensive, most precious assets, their homes or investment properties, that they can trust the person at their side. So we do as well our standard forums. It's a common language, so realtors anywhere in the province can speak. Basically, if there's going to be a problem out there, real estate transactions can be complex. That's why you need your professional realtor. Any problem, we've got a forum for that. We do training on the use of those forums. We also encourage our realtor members to get involved in leadership positions, whether within real estate, the local hospital board, the soccer club, the Boys and Girls Club, the Y. Realtors, in my opinion, because I spend a lot of time in politics meeting with so many different groups, no better profession involved in the grassroots of their community, giving back to their neighborhoods. And then a big part, I know we're going to talk about this today, is advocacy. So we are the voice for Ontario realtors and real estate when it comes to provincial government, whether that's the regulator, RECO, or key decision makers like the Premier, Minister, MPPs, and senior civil servants. Our goal, to help create that next generation of Ontario homeowners. We want to make sure that they can afford a home, get the keys to the first place, save up, move up, to help people find an amazing place to raise their families. We have the back of our realtors in doing that critical job for ordinary, hardworking Canadians.
The last video I saw of yours, Tim, was talking about the red tape and the bylaws. So, if you could just talk about how we can address the supply issue.
Yeah, absolutely true. So a couple things we can break down here, because both the federal and provincial governments are key to helping create that next generation of Canadian homeowners. So we just had that election campaign. Jas, we'll start with the federal side. We do province after that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
All right. So there's no doubt that this election campaign had housing affordability as a key issue. So a big part of my job, as I said earlier, and because it's a federal election, we work with our counterpart, OREA, the National Association, is to put good ideas on the table for governments and all political parties to help address the issue around housing affordability. And the challenge is if you don't do that, then they're going to make stuff up. And that can be really dangerous. Like you guys, very successful professionals. I'm looking in the comments here. You got folks from across the province. That's awesome. All who know this business inside and out. But I'll tell you, sometimes in politics, somebody buys, 2 or 3 houses in their lifetime. They think they're an expert, right? And they can make very dangerous decisions. So some of the ideas we put on the table were around increasing housing supply and choice. We said we should look at across Canada 1 million new homes over the next 5 years. That's so the new demand, Jas, you talked about, can actually get into a place, but also catching up because we've fallen very short of that. So I can talk more about that. Number one issue was supply. Number two issue was to get dirty money out of real estate. Unfortunately, we're seeing, foreign corrupt officials, drug lords, criminal operations that are laundering their money into real estate in Canada. Why do they do that? Well, we all know that's a good investment. It's safe because they come from corrupt countries, so they can hide their money here. And other countries like the United Kingdom, in Europe, the US, they've all started clamping down on that. Canada has not. And now we've become a top target. And I know you guys are like us at OREA. We don't want to see a single piece of property, postage stamp, go to some corrupt official's nephew that should be there for law-abiding Canadians. And the third one we brought across was how can we help people get into the market in the first place with that down payment, opening up some more mortgage opportunities. So those were the 3 areas we put on the table. And I was quite proud that each of the major parties, whether they're Liberal, Conservative, or Democrat, they took some of our ideas and put them in their platform. There's some negative ones too, but a lot of good stuff that they got from us. One of the reasons why I jumped to the chance to be here on Brunch with REC is not only you guys provide great real estate advice and expertise, but you care passionately about the public benefit of affordable home ownership. Like you can just hear that in Simeon's voice. I think that's awesome. Now, I'm not as worked up as Simeon is in this particular issue because I do think there's signs of progress. You're right. They could have gone farther. They could have checked off all the boxes that OREA gave them and Korea. But there are some positives. First of all, let me set the stage here. Just think about the Olympics, right? So the most important level of government when it comes to solving this issue and making sure people can find a great place to call home is the provincial level. That's sort of the gold level. Then, as Simeon said, it's municipalities because the province can have all the right programs, all the right ambitions, but municipalities can grind it all to a halt if they keep bowing to NIMBYs and they don't want to have housing in their area. And then the national government is the bronze level. However, they can still make a difference. And I'll give you a couple of examples. The Liberal government now has talked about 1.4 million homes. And the way they can help do that actually is to invest in infrastructure. So when you go through a budget, there's always money for water, sewer, for roads, for transit. They should say, all right, Toronto or Windsor or London, Burlington, and seeing all these folks listening across the province, you want your project funded, you got to open up more homes that people can afford, right? Starter homes, move up homes, rentals. So if you want your money, you got to do that. So you use that sort of carrot approach to get municipalities on board. That's one thing. The Conservatives had a good idea that was from our plan too. They said, let's take 15% of the government-owned real estate in Canada, convert that to housing. Underutilized government buildings, empty space, whatever. That's a really good idea. And you can start moving in that area. And New Democrats talked about bringing back a 30-year amortization for mortgages. That really helps out first-time buyers. So while you're right, it's frustrating. It's the province, municipality, federal. I will say that the parties did put stuff on the table that can help moving that boulder up the hill. So I was more positive about it.
Now, go ahead, Simos.
Just to that, I'm very positive with many things. I came across the wrong because I'm actually frustrated with it, and my frustration is the city of Toronto, and I cannot for the life of me. I've been thinking about it for 10 seconds in my head. What the Action Toronto or Housing Now is it Housing Now? The John Tory plan to turn. Yeah. It's been stalled for 2 years. I just read a huge article on it last week that it came with all this promise to turn City of Toronto land, convert uses, community centers, etc., convert them into housing, affordable housing. The average project on the list is 24 months behind. The program has only existed for 27 months. So this is, and this is not a pick at John Tory. I think John Tory is probably one of the best mayors the city has ever seen. like literally, at least there was no scandals and
Yeah.
what have you. But at the end of the day, all I'm getting at is we keep seeing rhetoric. You're part of an organization that literally changed legislation. You're the not you are the sole reason. You and your team brought TRESA into effect to replace 20-year to improve and replace 20-year legislation, which was REBA 2002 that ran our real estate profession. So I'm speaking to somebody who knows how to get things done. So your suggestion is can we as realtors lobby somewhere? Do we just support our Ontario Real Estate Association? Can our investors, can our clients, can our REC insiders write a letter somewhere? How do we affect change to increase housing? Because this $1.5 million to buy your first home is not working. People are up to here.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about investors, because investors, we do what we do.
Well, we create deals, right?
We create
and
deals.
the best.
But when we're talking about affordability for the average Canadian, it's unfair, and it's literally, in my opinion, tragic to put $1.5 million price tag as the average price of a home in the city.
Yeah, look, and Tim, we appreciate you just kind of bantering with us as what we do here on Brunch with REC. We kind of all go back and forth. We obviously have strong opinions, each of us, and to everybody who's watching, thank you for the comments here, letting us know that the sound was off a little. Big shout out to Stephen Rochester behind the ones and twos here, making sure that the audio is good. So if the audio is fine for you right now, please press that blue like button, letting us know that you can hear both myself and Simeon. At the end of the day, most important person we want you to be listening to right now is Mr. Tim Hudak. So as long as you can get his audio, that's good. I mean, the audio for me and Simos is really just for me and Simos. But aside from that, we were speaking about, you mentioned first-time home buyers, Tim. What is some things that we can do for first-time home buyers now that can help this affordability as well?
Yeah, number one is making sure there's more homes on the market for starter homes. That's top of our list. Number two is making sure they have fair access to mortgages, and they've really narrowed the door too much. The one size fits all stress test can be updated, modernized. Is really prejudice against entrepreneurs, first-time buyers, and new Canadians. And third, you can help take the taxes down. One thing, and Simeon was very kind to list some of our accomplishments around TRESAs, bringing in personal real estate corporations. We also did get the government to double the land transfer tax holiday. Now, that's the provincial tax. We can't do anything about the city of Toronto, but they did follow. So that keeps some more money in your pocket, because that's money you've got to have on hand. We're right now pushing to double that again with the Ford government. And to get back to the main question, what can people watching right now, Brunch with REC do? Get involved. Like, honest to God, I was 21 years in the business, as I said, and the comparisons, let me just put it this way. Politicians are going to respect realtors that come up to them and talk about the issues. And people might get their backs up against this, but you know why? Because they're very similar. And I mean that in the sense that you're communication experts, you're generalists, you know what's going on in the community, you give back, you're at every friggin' weekend event you can get to when COVID's not around us, right? Giving back in the community, meeting people. You do your research. So when I was out and about as an MPP, I'd see my realtors sponsoring events. I'd see in the community, I'd talk to them. So there's a connection. Some of the wiring is very similar. So go talk to them, whether it's your mayor or councillor, MP or MPP. They're going to listen to you because they respect you and they see you working in the community and giving back. My other joke on this is only realtors have more lawn signs than the politicians. So how do you get involved?
There's 80,000 of us in the province.
And you put your pictures on it, they're looking people, and
we're constantly.
We don't let Simos put his pictures on the for sale signs. Though,
and we're constantly campaigning 24/7.
It's just too distracting. So this is what you can go to right now. You're online, OntarioRealtorParty.com. Again, OntarioRealtorParty.com. Simeon, I know you're part of this. This is, we inform you what's going on. We connect you with your MPP. You can help through social media, sending them emails, whatever, to your MPP. We figure out who that is by your postal code. And you can come to our conferences as well. We'll have one in November. It'll be virtual. And then in Toronto in 2022, you'll love it. So if you want to make a difference for your community, influence public officials, OntarioRealtorParty.com. We have thousands of realtors who do this. Love to have you on board.
Of course. and we will be there to support the cause. And I hope every single one of our REC insiders, whether you're in real estate or whether you're a real estate investor, whether you're a real estate enthusiast, because we are all three. We eat, breathe, and live real estate every day, not just because we trade it, but because we literally love it. And there's so many of us that have the real estate disease, and we do need to affect change, especially in a market like the Canadian market today. We're so blessed to live in a country that's so desirable, in the envy of the world from a stability perspective, but that attraction is causing affordability concerns to Canadians now, and I'm hoping that some of these 2-year bans, some of these band-aids just maybe slow the tempo a bit, but to affect root change, we do need affordable home starts. We need purpose-built rentals, because the condo market cannot be used as the purpose-built rental market. They're affected. You've created a commodity, affected a complete asset class over the last 30 years, since no incentives have been given to companies to do purpose-built rentals. Now that we're starting to see some come back in some conversation around it, because the only reason we're starting to see purpose-built rentals right now in the GTA is because rental prices are skyrocketed. So now they make sense even to the big guys, the people who can afford to build these $100 million projects. Unless if rent control was still here, they wouldn't be building any, period, zero starts. But since in 2018, when we got rid of the rent control, now you have people investing in great real estate that's going to be centrally located by transit, and that creates supply. If they do anything, again, to affect this, if they don't induce business to create housing, again, you're going to have the same issues. And what I saw in the liberal agenda, and this is the stuff that aggravates me, and it has nothing to do, I don't care what party it is. So I don't want to talk liberal, but the agenda of the reigning party today to have things like, if you renovate and the price of the rent after is excessive, what does that mean? Who's the judge of what's excessive? If you buy a barn and you build a 2-story home and it goes from $100 to $3,000, is it excessive? No, because the home goes for $3,000 down the street.
Well, the marketplace decided
So
it, right?
all these things like that are just to create emotion but not real change bother me. Those are the things that bother me. Give an incentive to create better housing for Canadians. Give me, and this is where the REC insider investor community needs to pay attention. The reason we invest in real estate is because we make profit by making a better world. Like, this is why I enjoy my life. I am profiting and building my life on the back of helping people succeed and live amazing lives.
Great point.
So I didn't choose this profession because, like, I don't lay brick. I don't know how to lay brick. The bricklayer enjoys his job because he sees something come to fruition. Everybody gets a specific satisfaction. For me now to tell my investors, you're no longer going to do this for a living. You have to go find something else because you're going to be taxed here. You're going to be taxed here. There's no country that taxes so much on real estate. So they're trying to fizzle everything out where you're going to have, just like with rent controls, those never have worked anywhere on the planet, and they're never going to work, and they won't work here. You're going to end up with dives. You're going to end up with crap real estate all over the place, and people being affordable. What, affordable to live with the cockroaches? With broken sewers? But this is what's going to happen. So you got it. Somebody has to have an incentive to buy the real estate, to clean up the real estate, to polish the real estate, for you to live in it, for you to gain value from it. That's where I'm at with it.
I love that heart you put into it. I mean, it's really well said. And one thing we make the case just like that is it's proven in study after study that if you have a good roof over your head, and particularly if you're a homeowner, you give back to your community. You care about your property. You are more likely to volunteer. Your kids do better in school and in getting jobs all else constant. So that's why for public policy, it's critically important. You talked about how you're helping the individual. Absolutely. And as a cumulative, it makes Canada so much stronger and a middle class stronger. Sadly, now we've gone backwards when it comes to housing. We actually have fewer homeowners now than we did 5 years ago as population. Hey, can I throw one more thing at you guys? Because I see people here were asking about how to get involved.
100%. Go crazy,
All
please,
day.
Tim.
We have a campaign that we just launched this past week. We were meeting with Premier Ford, the MPPs of all parties, and your viewers can sign up to be part of that and send messages. It's bringaffordabilityhome.com. I see Kwesi had put the link in there for the other one. I appreciate that, Kwesi. Bringaffordabilityhome.com. You throw up the link. Please go to that.
Here, Stephen. Bringaffordabilityhome.com. Bringaffordabilityhome.com.
Yeah, let's share that in the chat.
We're gonna put that into the chat and talk about what's the process when people go there, Tim. Like when our insiders, REC insiders go there, what's the process? Is it just a matter of signing up? Like what happens when they go to that page?
You bet. The number one, they can read our plan. These are the things we're lobbying right now at the province, like doubling the land transfer tax holiday for first-time buyers. Simeon was talking about cutting the red tape. We have some specifics in there of outdated obstacles that stand in the way to new housing that people can afford. So number one, you see the plan. And secondly, there's a key, take action. And if we can tell by your postal code, who your MPP is, how you can send them a message via social media or email, they will listen. And the more people we have jumping on them saying, hey, look at these ideas, the more successful we are. It worked in the past. It's going to work again.
Because we're bringing it to their attention. So you, as a homeowner, as an investor, as a citizen, have the right to say this matters to me. Bring it to their attention.
You got it.
I love that. I love that.
In the business, you're looking to find a home, you're in the market, whatever. The more people that get there and send this message, the more likely we're going to be successful.
Now, to everybody who's watching, we're joined by Tim Hudak, CEO of the Ontario Real Estate Association. Want to welcome him along with all of our REC insiders. As usual, feel free to throw your questions in the comments. I'm gonna pivot a little bit. We had a question from an OG of ours here at REC, Mr. Gregory Klein. I'm just gonna scroll back to his questions. It was along the lines of why. I mean, I don't fully agree with the question, but I definitely want to address it. Why do realtors not want buyers and the public to see other bids in a multiple offer situation?
That was huge.
I'll throw that at both of you guys. Tim, why don't you go first? What's your thoughts on the ban on blind bidding?
So this is one of those ideas that might sound good on first blush, but can be tremendously dangerous. So let me tell you why. There's no jurisdiction in the world that we could.
Sorry. Let me preface this. We have the CEO of the Ontario Real Estate Association answering the biggest point that made the media for the last month: the blind bidding.
Yeah.
Tim, sorry to interrupt you, but we just couldn't have a more appropriate person to answer this very question for all people. So thank you so much.
Hey, Greg looks like he's got a lovely family there. I love the way you guys got this set up here. It looks cool. But if you think this through, so no jurisdiction in the world has banned the traditional offer process and said you have to go to auctions. And effectively, whether it's somebody standing on your lawn, auctioning off your house like in Australia, doing so online through Kijiji, whatever, when you're sharing the offer details, that's an auction. And what tends to happen where auctions are common, like Australia, New Zealand, and again, they're not mandated there. People choose auctions there because it drives up prices. People get really carried away because they don't want this guy next to them or the guy on the screen that's got the funny picture for his icon. They don't want to lose. So if they see somebody's 1,000, 2,000 above them, then the second bid tends to come up and then the third bid comes up. So it's actually been demonstrated that auction fever drives up prices even higher than the traditional offer process. Other side of the coin is some people want to keep the details of their offer confidential. Do you want to share all of that information about a condition is you have to sell your own home? And by the way, here's the address, or people could game the system by seeing how much everybody can afford as a down payment. So I don't think every buyer sitting around the table is wanting to give out that personal information to a bunch of strangers that they're going to compete with next time around. Third and final thing, we believe that if you blew up the traditional offer process and said auctions only, a lot of sellers are going to say, okay, hold on a second now. I'm counting on selling my house because the kids are bigger, we need some more room, or I'm going to be retiring. But I don't know what this is going to do. We've never done this before in Canada. So if you think it's hard to find inventory now, get rid of the traditional offer process. You won't find any more homes on the market. It will freeze the amount of supply and therefore drive houses even higher in price.
But isn't it? Oh, sorry, please finish, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Anita. My last point is, OREA's point of view is give people a choice. It's a home. People live in it. They own it. They're counting on it for their future. So if they want to do an auction, let them do an auction. If they want a traditional offer process, let them do that. If they want to sell to somebody who reminds it of themselves when they first bought the house, it's a homeowner's property, let them be in the driver's seat when it comes to how they sell their home. Give them choice.
So this is the point that I wanted to make a second ago. And it's amazing that you brought it up. I can't tell you in the beginning of my career when I was in residential real estate, how many times that my job as a realtor, I did my job successfully because of my ability to sell the package that were my clients. I would walk into a home, I would meet with Tim and Debbie, the seller. Mr. Hudak, you have a lovely home. These are my lovely buyers, and this is their story. If that story was successfully, if that resonated with you, and you saw that you were doing something for my young clients that you cared to do, meaning that they may not have a $200,000 deposit like other clients here at the table tonight, but they work hard. They have a dream. They want to live here. Their mother lives down the street, and this is the most perfect opportunity for them. And I would love nothing more than to see them, even though we don't have the strongest offer, and we know we don't have the strongest offer because it's impossible that we have the strongest offer. I would love to see if there's anything that you can do to put these guys in this house. And we have done not one, but hundreds of deals like this, because that's our job as realtors. Our realtors are to represent the interests of our clients. So as a realtor, I marketed my package, which is my client. I translated it into words on an OREA form, and I presented it to the client. If you're going to tell me I can't do that, and I have to disclose, and it becomes now a matrix, an Excel sheet where it says deposit $25,000, further deposit $1, etc., then you have taken away the essence of everything. And how can you force that to someone? So that's where I'm also trying to figure it out. How can you pass that? How can you tell me to do that? Can you tell me to do that? Can someone force this?
Well, the government could, in which case I think that then people will say, well, then I'm not going to use a realtor. I'll just go into do it myself, or somebody who's not regulated, right? Doesn't have training, no discipline. There's a risk that people would simply leave the organized system where the government backs you up with RICO and fines and suspensions. And you have these so-called real estate consultants who are accountable to nobody and probably don't know what they're doing.
And that would obviously be a big problem. I mean, yes, we're biased because we are realtors and we want, our clients to use us and the marketplace to use us. But on the flip side of that, I mean, we spend a lot of time educating people how to sell their own home as well, knowing that 2% of the nation actually does that. But I love the point that you spoke about where a lot of the time, if this were to actually happen and there was a ban on blind bidding, most sellers wouldn't even sell their home. And again, we're going to have a problem from the supply side, right? I mean, when you mention that, because me personally, Tim, I'm always looking at how can we fix the supply side, because that is the side of the equation that for some reason has never really, the needle hasn't been moved there significantly enough.
And if we were to look at my notes that I did for today's brunch, where I had all the points up that were talked about, 80% of those things actually contradict bringing more homes to the market. They're actually all things that are trying to address wrongdoing in the marketplace instead of addressing like all the little things of how don't profit from this, don't do this. How about we build homes? How about stop trying to fix the nonsense and build homes? Get approvals through
quicker and maybe not charge 40. What is it? What's the cost now for developers, Simos? I mean, $40,000-$50,000 for each dwelling.
On the low end.
You wish. You're talking 100K plus. So right now, I was 3 days ago, I met with a significant builder. $350 a foot in the GTA right now is 100% cost that goes to government, municipal, provincial, federal taxes. $350 a foot. So when you're buying a home that's $1,000 a foot, for example, $350 of that for every square foot goes to government. It has never been more expensive. The margins have never been tested to this degree. And again, from an affordability perspective, it's only going to be worse because what's happening out there from the big guys, because that's literally who I'm speaking to every day, is builders and developers. And all I'm seeing is moves towards consolidation, meaning that the little developer, the little builder can't hack. They can't deal. They can't buy land because it's too expensive. So and every day that they can't buy land and land keeps getting higher, they get squeezed out because now they don't have enough projects to survive. So they get consolidated by the bigger developers. I'm not going to mention who's consolidating, et cetera, but this is what's happening. And when that happens, that leads now into a scene where they control the marketplace. Also not what you want. Because this is how...
Well, you need more competition. Competition is good for the marketplace.
It requires it. So like all the things that are happening that I see are simply moving. Yes, there is good things happening, but the big item, the one that everybody talks about for the last 15 years, in my opinion, the needle has not moved nearly quick enough. The needle has moved. But if Trudeau is going to bring 350,000 people a year in, we are in a world of hurt. So if that, and they are going to bring the people in because they need them for the economy, the housing is going to get completely inundated further and further.
Now, Tim, there's a lot that's happening, and I know you touched on it a little bit for first-time homebuyers with the land transfer tax rebate. Can you just kind of unpack what you plan to do and what you're hoping that we can all push for when it comes to the land transfer tax rebates, increasing them? Can you just unpack that all for us?
Yeah. So basically, our current plan of the province is to increase land transfer tax first-time homebuyer rebate from $4,000, that's where it's capped right now, to $8,000. So for some parts of the province, some housing values, that would be no provincial land transfer tax altogether. And that's money that's be in their pockets. They can use for the down payment, because when you pay the tax, you got to have that cash up front, right? So I think that'd be very helpful to helping first-time buyers. Now, in areas like Toronto, the GTA, that's it doesn't cover the whole thing or as much of it, but at least it's a good start. And we have found the City of Toronto under Mayor Tory has tended to follow what the province does. So when under the Wynne government, we convinced them to go to $4,000, the City of Toronto also made changes to their land transfer tax. So that's how we would approach that issue, which helps give first-time buyers a bit of a leg up. And you guys are talking this on your show. Once you're in the market, it's much easier then to move up in the market. The hardest step is the first rung of the ladder.
Yeah, look, I think one of the main reasons we definitely wanted to have you on, because you just bring up the viewership because of your looks and how presentable you are, but a lot better than Simos and I.
You are so handsome.
I can tell you that, buddy. Is because what's happening with all with the lack of supply, homes not being affordable, is people are actually leaving the province. Like, there's one thing that with people thinking about leaving the GTA, but people are actually leaving Ontario because it's cheaper for them to live in other places. And so I think it was just so important to have you on and make sure that we get all these links. And Stephen, thank you for putting all the links into the comments. What are some other things that you're just seeing right now in the marketplace, Tim? We would just love to get your thoughts on kind of what you're seeing in the marketplace, because you're speaking to not only realtors, but you're speaking to home buyers as well.
So the biggest thing is to have confidence, have faith in yourself and your skills. One of the big issues, people always predict there's going to be some robots, some app, some algorithm that comes along and replaces a realtor. We recently did a study. It's our home and seller guide. Buyer seller guide. You can get that at OREA.com. It's the largest review in Ontario of buyers and sellers in the market and the preferences. Here's the good news. Despite the fact that there's more availability of data to people, more technology, the use of realtors actually increased. And that's because they believe in your expertise to take that fire hose of data and put in something they can understand, to be their advocate and know what's going on in the neighborhood, that things anybody else would not know. So there's a lot of optimism there. We do believe the ideas we're putting on the table can help bring in more supply in the marketplace. We just need that push. Any help from your viewers at, again, bringaffordabilityhome.com would be
and we're going to push that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for that. And you'll see in there a lot of the red tape we want to remove, allowing intensification in some areas, some outdated parking restrictions that represent the economy of the 1970s, outdated zoning bylaws, conversion of excess commercial government land into housing. There's lots of really good stuff in there, but we need the boost to get her going.
And some of these bylaws, as you mentioned, I read somewhere, I think it was maybe on your website, like some of these bylaws have been in place since 1950. Like we haven't even looked like 1950.
Yeah, it's true, right? There's
Havana still had cars.
There's that old line that nothing is permanent as a temporary government program, right? So there's a case in point. And Jas, you made a really good point. Again, please use OREA.com as your resource for all things real estate and public policy. But we actually surveyed Ontarians and found, frighteningly, that almost half of people 45 and under were actively considering leaving Ontario strictly around housing affordability. And now with work from home and such, they're looking to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, the top two provinces we detected, some to Manitoba, some to the States. It's a real threat because this is the group of people who are going to create the next generation of jobs, our future entrepreneurs, future executives. Half are looking to move out of Ontario because they can buy a home they can afford. That is a 5-alarm bell.
That is a 5-alarm bell. And there's a reason Jas brought it up. Because of the amount of business and the size of our team, we literally have a lot of anecdotal evidence to this, where Jas's meetings, he met with clients in Brampton. They're literally moving to Edmonton or Calgary. Where was it?
Edmonton.
To Edmonton because of affordability. So it's not like we're asking. They're saying, I'm moving because I can get a home double the size of this one for $500K. Here it's 1.8. How are you going to afford a $1.8 million home? But $500,000 home you can afford all day because the household income is 120 or not, like regular things. We're talking about Canadian middle class, and that is exactly the best description. It's a 5-alarm bell.
Yeah,
it's a 5-alarm bell.
Yeah, I think what's going to, what I've been saying now probably for the last 3-4 years is GTA specific. Downtown Toronto, we've already seen this happen, that we're becoming a renter's city, I don't want to say province yet because we're not nowhere near there, but obviously there's the threat that Tim mentioned. But if you look at the Manhattans, the Londons, the Tokyos, not most people are not homeowners in those metropolitan areas, right? And so for investors, it's great. And so, which is majority of our clients, right? Like it's safe. That, we got the major corporations, we've got the major banks and the law firms and the best hospitals in the country, the best schools in the country. Yes, we are biased because I'm born and raised here. And so I'm obviously going to speak very, very, very highly of the GTA, but it's the home ownership that I'm concerned about for my 7-year-old, my 5-year-old, your 8-year-old and your 6-year-old, Simos, that look, I mean, they might not be able to experience how good it feels. My parents came here in 1974, 1975, taxi driver, my father his whole life, factory worker, my mom, and all they ever thought about was owning a home, and they owned that first home and paying it down they scratched and clawed and counted pennies, but they got that, and they were able to experience it 2-3 times over. It's just unfortunate that some of our younger generation is going to have a much tougher time. Somebody mentioned in our comments here, is co-ownership something that should be that could possibly make sense? I mean, I've heard some about it, but I can't comment too much on it.
I wish our brethren from Greybrook were here.
Right.
They're investing heavily in the co-own space. It's so what it is. So just for everybody to know what it actually is, it's a building full of, let's call it micro condos. Let's call it shared lifestyle and amenities. They've launched 3 across the United States, big ones, with tremendous success. And it focuses on delivering value in today's world, meaning that inside the building, it's an ultra smart community, meaning lots of tech. Your laundry gets picked up. You drop it off, like all the way things happen are ultra efficient, meaning that the community is self-sustainable.
Right.
You don't have to own a car to do emissions, to have insurance, to have parking. So like literally there's services and smart living so tied in and so well thought out that they're building these communities for that age group of, let's call it 22, 23. Maybe you're out of university to that stage in life where you're maybe partnered up with kid. So those years that you cannot afford an $800,000 starter condo in Toronto now, but you can probably afford a $400,000 co-living space.
Yeah.
Where this whole thing is catching on. And that's a great point. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
No, I think Derek had a really good point there. And so, I mean, that's a great real life experience, what's happening now. Unfortunately, in Ontario, Jas, you'll love this, some laws from the 1970s are really restricting co-ownership. Nobody had a conscience that you could have co-ownership, you could have financial technologies that will help make the down payment, invest in your home, and you pay them off over time like a modern rent to own, or when you sell, they get part of the upside. A number of those technologies working in the States, but in Ontario, they have to pay an additional land transfer tax, and it's treated like a landlord-tenant situation, even though it isn't. So there's some red tape we've got as part of our plan to eliminate. So the idea is, as Simeon has introduced, we can see more of that in the province of Ontario. And Derek, it's a great question. I think there's a really good opportunity here.
Now, when you say an additional, so is it like a double tax that someone would have to pay essentially? Like if it's in Toronto, is it 3 taxes they're paying then?
Yeah, I think they both, as one of the share gets off, they both have to pay land transfer tax. So they pay additional. Yeah. And we kind of the same thing with iBuyers as well, that if they buy a home and put it in the market, then there's 2 land transfer taxes paid. And so these new developments are really sideswiped by a law that was passed like in 1974, and they had no idea what 2021 would be like.
I would love to bring on Peter Papailias.
Peter Papailias from Greybrook. Stephen, let's make a note of that. Let's reach out to our friends at Greybrook to talk about it.
This conversation can just take another level because, again, like we're talking about taking action and contacting your MPPs and going to bring home affordability. What was the website?
Bring affordability home. Really good.
Bring affordability home. Talk about making change. If we can change laws from 1974 that can literally create a new asset class that can serve thousands, this is the change. This is what we can do. And that's a highlight reel for a 5-alarm bell, man.
Well, our head office is here at Shops at Don Mills and Lawrence, and we were just speaking to our broker owner, Christopher Slightum, and his grandfather built a lot of the subdivisions in and around where we are, and he was speaking about the fact that when they tried to bring more condos and intensification into this area, those bylaws were there from 1950. Like there's been no changes. They're not even allowing more condos to be built in this area because nobody's changed some of those bylaws. Tim, we can't thank you enough for giving us close to an hour of your time. Thank you to your team for putting this all together as well. Please leave our insiders on Brunch with REC on this beautiful Saturday morning today with one tip, one thought from you to leave our tips. Leave our insiders with.
Look, there's nothing that beats expertise, right? You're making the biggest investment of your life, the future of your family. Go with people who know what they're talking about. It always puzzles me when people go outside of real estate to use somebody else, how much money that they're paying more or leaving on the table in those deals. The voice of the realtor, that experience, like you guys, more valuable than ever in an increasingly complex and expensive environment. Good to see you both. Thrilled to be back on the show. Thanks for your kind words. This face is why I do more radio than video, but it's nice to
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting here for my eggs Benny as part of this brunch. Otherwise, it's been a thrill.
So I'll tell you, and I'm going to thank your family for sharing you with us on a Saturday. On behalf of our entire REC nation and our amazing friends all over the country, Tim, thank you. We're going to actually get our brunch today is homemade schnitzels
From Jordan.
from
Yes.
Jordan. So they're waiting for us to have like pickled carrots.
Well, next time we do this, we are going to do eggs Benny, but we're going to do it
Check it
live
out.
here.
Hey, check it out.
We're going to do it live here. Thank you, Stephen. So this is kind of our brunch today.
It's like a Japanese inspired pork schnitzel.
I'm hopping in the car now. From Niagara, I'll be there an hour and 15.
I love it. I love
Oh,
it.
you're out in beautiful Niagara. What a day. God bless you, Tim.
Thank you so much.
God bless everybody across the country. We love you. If you have comments from today's conversation, if you have questions for Tim's office, obviously we can get to the man directly, and we're so blessed and fortunate to have his guidance and support throughout the years. Thank you, everyone. Let us know if you need anything at all.
Take care, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.